I stood there, frozen, staring at the empty room. Balloons hung from the ceiling, the cake sat untouched, the banner that read, "Happy First Birthday Lily," swayed gently with the fan. My daughter's big brown eyes blinked up at me, innocent and expectant, as if she still believed the door would burst open with laughter, hugs, and gifts from the people who were supposed to love her most. But no one came. Not my mother. Not my father. Not my sisters. Not even my best friend, who I treated like a sister all my life. I checked the time again. 6 in the evening. I had sent out the invitations a month ago. I'd called, texted, reminded them over and over. I had decorated the house myself, cooked all the food myself, and even saved up for weeks to afford the Princess Castle cake Lily would never forget. Or at least, I thought she wouldn't forget. And yet here we were. Just me, my baby girl, and silence. That silence broke me in ways I didn't expect. Because in that silence, I realized something. My family didn't forget. They chose not to come. And that was the day I decided I would never forgive them. That was the day revenge was born in my heart. But before I tell you what I did, and believe me, what I did shook every single one of their lives, you need to know why this birthday mattered more than any other. You need to know the story of my family and why this wasn't just about a missed party. This was about betrayal, lies, and a pain I had carried my whole life. If you're still here with me, hit that like button, subscribe, and get ready because this is not just a story about a baby's first birthday. This is the story of how love can turn into revenge. And it all starts with me. My name is Sarah Miller. I grew up in a family that, from the outside, looked perfect. My dad was a respected lawyer. My mom, a nurse everyone admired in town. And I was the eldest of 3 daughters. People envied us, called us the picture-perfect family. But inside that house, behind closed doors, perfection was just an illusion. My father was strict. No controlling. He decided everything. What we wore, where we went, who we dated. And my mom? She pretended everything was fine. She smiled for the world, but in the dark of night, I'd hear her crying when she thought no one was listening. My sisters, Emily and Kate, they learned quickly how to play by the rules. They stayed in line. But me? I was different. I asked questions. I pushed back. And my punishment was loneliness. You see, when you don't obey in my family, you don't just get punished, you get erased. I was the black sheep, the disappointment, the rebellious one. I remember being 17, crying on my birthday because my parents went out to dinner with my sisters and left me home alone with a frozen pizza. "You brought this on yourself," my mom had whispered when I confronted her. Still, I tried to win them back. Even after all the fights, even after leaving home at 18 with nothing but a suitcase and a part-time job, I still craved their approval. Then I met Michael. He was different. He was warm where my father was cold, kind where my family was cruel. He became my safe place. For once in my life, I felt like I mattered to someone. We got married, and when Lily was born, I thought, maybe this baby would change everything. A grandchild, the first in the family. Surely, they couldn't ignore her the way they ignored me. So I swallowed my pride. I reached out. I called them, sent pictures of Lily, begged them to visit. And when her first birthday approached, I thought, this is it. This will be the moment my family shows me we matter to them. But instead, it became the moment they showed me just how little we meant. When I blew out Lily's single candle, alone, my hands shook. I felt my chest tighten, my throat burn. That image, my baby smiling, clapping her little hands as if the room was full of people cheering, burned itself into my soul. I carried Lily to bed that night, whispering promises into her ear. Promises that I would never let her feel the pain I felt growing up. Promises that she would never beg for love. Promises that she would never know rejection from her own blood. But while she slept peacefully, my mind turned dark. Because I wasn't just going to move on. I wasn't just going to forgive. I was going to make them pay. I didn't know how yet. But deep down, I knew revenge would come, and when it did, it would be brutal. And it started sooner than I expected. The very next morning, my phone rang. It was the police. My heart dropped. They told me there had been an incident. What incident? Who was hurt? What did they mean? I dropped the phone, trembling. And when I picked it up again, the words that came through the line changed everything. The police? I whispered, gripping the phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. My chest pounded, and I could hear Lily babbling in her crib down the hall, completely unaware that my world was about to change again. Yes, ma'am. The officer's voice was calm but urgent. We need you to come down to the station. It's about your family. My family. For a second, I almost laughed. The same family that abandoned me? The same family that didn't care enough to show up for my baby's first birthday? And now the police wanted me to rush to them? But something in the officer's tone made my stomach knot. I swallowed hard. What happened? There was a pause. Then he said, "It's about your father. There's been a crime. We'll explain when you get here." I froze. A crime? My father. The man who spent his life lecturing us about law, about justice, about consequences, caught up in something criminal? My thoughts raced. Did he hurt someone? Did someone hurt him? I dressed Lily quickly, her soft hands clutching at my shirt as I strapped her into the car seat. My hands shook the entire drive, my mind battling between fear and something darker, a flicker of satisfaction. Because if something had gone wrong for my father, wasn't that just karma? At the station, the fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as an officer led me into a small room. And there she was, my mother, sitting at the table, her face pale, her hands trembling. When her eyes met mine, she broke down sobbing. "Sarah," she cried, reaching for me. But I didn't move. I just stared at her. "It's your father. He's been arrested. For murder." The word hit me like a punch. Murder. I stumbled back, my breath caught in my throat. My father, the strict lawyer who always told us to obey the law, the man who ruled our home like a dictator. Murder? What are you talking about? My voice cracked. The detective slid a file across the table. "Mr. Miller is accused of killing a man last night. A business partner. The evidence is overwhelming." I sank into the chair. My mind spun with images. My father in handcuffs. My family's names smeared across the news. My sisters hiding from shame. For once, we weren't the picture-perfect family. We were broken. Exposed. And part of me wanted to cry. But another part of me smiled. Because this was the crack in their armor. The perfect storm I never saw coming. My mother leaned across the table, gripping my hand tightly. "Sarah, please, you have to help us. We need you. The girls are a mess. The lawyers are asking questions, the press." I yanked my hand back. "Now you need me?" My voice rose, shaking with years of buried anger. "You couldn't even come to your granddaughter's birthday yesterday, but now that Dad's in trouble, suddenly I matter?" Her lips trembled. "Please, Sarah. You don't understand. If your father goes to prison..." Her voice trailed off, but I finished the sentence for her in my head. "We'll lose everything." And that's when I knew. This was my moment. My revenge wouldn't just be about a birthday party anymore. No. This was bigger. This was about dismantling the family that had dismantled me. I agreed to help. But inside, I was already plotting. Back home that night, after putting Lily to bed, I sat in the dark with only the glow of my phone. I dug through old messages, emails, family secrets I had tried to forget. If my father really killed someone, I was going to make sure the truth came out. And if my family wanted my loyalty, they were going to pay for it, piece by piece. But as I scrolled through my phone, I stumbled on something I wasn't prepared for. A text from my sister Emily. Sent late last night, just hours before the murder. It read, "Dad, don't forget. He knows about the money. You have to handle it." My breath caught. My heart raced. What money? Who was he? And why did Emily text out about handling it right before a man turned up dead? I gripped the phone, my fingers trembling. Suddenly, I wasn't sure who was guilty. My father? My sister? Both? I didn't know yet. But I knew one thing for sure. My family was hiding something, and I was about to uncover it. And just as I leaned back, trying to piece it all together, there was a loud knock at my door. I froze. Midnight. Another knock, harder this time. Police. Open up. The shout at the door hit me like cold water. My heart jumped into my throat. I held Lily close, feeling her little chest move against mine. She was asleep, her hair soft against my face. I never imagined the police would come to my door at midnight. Not for me. Not for my family. Not for the tiny life I protected more than my own. I crept to the door and peered through the peephole. 2 officers stood on my porch, their faces serious, the kind of faces people see on TV and feel fear. Behind them was a car with its lights off. For a second, I thought I might faint. My legs shook so hard I could hardly walk. I opened the door a crack. Yes, I whispered. My voice sounded small in the dark hallway. Sarah Miller? One officer asked. We need to ask you some questions about the murder of Thomas Reed. My name on their lips sounded like a rope pulling tight around my neck. I already talked to someone at the station, I said. They told me to come in the morning. This is different, the other officer said. We have new evidence. We need to come inside. I thought of my mother's pleading eyes at the station, of Emily's text, of the file they showed me. I thought of my father's hands, once steady and sure, now cuffed in a photograph that drifted through my head. I thought of Lily, asleep in the next room, trusting me with everything. My hands moved before I could stop them. I let them in. They were careful and quiet at first, asking the same questions I had already answered. Where had I been last night? Who had I seen? Where was my car? I told the truth. I had been home after the party. I had fed Lily, bathed her, and put her to bed. I had no idea about money or threats or anything a grown-up might do. They asked about my family. I said my father was arrested. I told them about the text from Emily. The officers exchanged looks like lightning. One of them asked to see my phone. I felt stupid for agreeing. My life had become open like a book. I handed over the phone with trembling hands. They searched it, scrolling through messages, photos, and calls. My stomach flipped with each beat they made. Then the lead officer paused on a message I did not remember sending. The date showed late the night before. It was to Thomas Reed. My thumb touched the screen, and my breath stopped. In the message I had written, "You will get what's coming to you. Leave my family alone." I tried to remember. Had I typed that? I remembered anger. I remembered tears. But I did not remember sending a message to the dead man. My head spun. Maybe I had typed it and deleted it. Maybe someone else had sent it from my phone. The officers looked at me like a person they had just found in a lie. "Do you know this man?" the officer asked. "Yes," I said. "Not well. He was my father's business partner. That's all." They looked through more photos. Then they stood up. "We need to take a copy of your phone data," the officer said. "And we need to search your car." My throat closed. My car? Why? I asked. I felt a cold trickle of panic in my stomach. I didn't go anywhere last night. They took my keys and told me to wait. I sat on the couch, Lily in my arms, and watched 2 officers move around my house like storm clouds. They were professional and calm, but to me they were monsters. My living room smelled like cake frosting and balloons from yesterday's party. Now it smelled like fear. One officer called a forensics team. They dusted for prints, took pictures, and bagged small things in clear plastic. I watched them take a napkin from the table where I had blown out the candle. I watched them photograph the empty gift boxes. It felt like my life was being picked apart like a plant dug from the earth. The lead officer came back with an envelope. "We found surveillance footage from a gas station near where Mr. Reed was killed," he said. "Your car appears on the footage at 11:52 p.m. My chest dropped to the floor. I could not breathe. No, that's not possible," I said. "I was home. I didn't leave." They showed me the footage on a small tablet. The image was grainy, but there was a car that looked like mine. It pulled into the parking lot, idled for a few minutes, then left. The timestamp matched the time of the murder. My mind screamed. I tried to remember driving anywhere, but the memories were blank. My hands trembled so much the baby in my arms stirred and opened one eye. "Where was your husband last night?" the officer asked. I blinked. Michael had been working late. He had left for a job that night and had not returned until morning. He had a phone call record that proved he had been at the office. I told them. They took his number and said they would talk to him. I felt trapped like a mouse inside a jar. The officers moved politely, but I could see my name being written in their small notebooks. "You might have to come down to the station to give a formal statement," the officer said. "And we might need to take you in for further questioning." My breath hitched. "Why?" I whispered. "I'm the victim here. My family, they didn't let me finish." One officer gently put a hand on my shoulder. "We're doing our job, ma'am. If you come with us now, it will be quicker." I looked at Lily sleeping in my arms. She was perfect and trusting and so small. I thought of the birthday cake still half on the counter. I thought of the balloons and of my father in a jail cell. My chest ached. I could not let them take me away like that. Not with Lily here. Not while she slept. "I need to call my husband," I said. "I need someone here. I can't leave my baby alone." "You can come with us," the officer said, "and we will provide for the baby while you are at the station." His words were supposed to be comforting, but they only made my heart break. The idea of a stranger watching my child while I was hauled to a place full of questions and bright lights filled me with an animal fear I could not speak past. Then, from the hallway, I heard a sound that made every hair stand up on my body. A soft click, like a lock closing. The back door had opened. A man's voice called out, low and angry. "Sarah? What did you do?" My heart stopped cold. I turned. Standing in the doorway was my sister Emily. Her hair was messy, her eyes wild, and her hands were covered with red stains. For a moment the world went very quiet. The officers froze too. Emily's face was white as a sheet. She looked like someone who had just seen a ghost, and yet could not look away. Before I could speak, Emily lunged forward and grabbed Lily from my arms. She held the baby tight and looked at me with a look I had never seen before, hate and desperation mixed together. "You lied to me," she screamed. "You lied about him. You sent that message." I tried to reach for Lily, but Emily held her high like a shield. The officers moved, hands on their holsters. Emily's fingers curled around Lily's tiny body like a vice. "Put the baby down," one officer shouted. Emily's voice broke into a sob. "No. Not until she tells the truth. Not until she admits what she did." My mind went black with a hot pain. I felt everything tearing at once, my family, my baby, my life. I thought of the empty chairs at the party. I thought of my mother's tears. I thought of the message to Thomas Reed that I did not remember sending. And then, in one terrifying second, Emily lifted her head and screamed a name I never expected to hear. The name shattered the night like glass. "Sarah, you killed him." The officers moved fast. One lunged. Another shouted. Emily tightened her hold and began to run for the back door, clutching Lily like a prize. My legs moved on their own. I reached, I grabbed, I screamed. The world became a storm of shouts and lights and hands. And then I felt cold metal close around my wrists. The handcuffs clicked. The steel bit into my skin, cold and final. My arms jerked back as the cuffs locked tight. My knees buckled, but the officer's grip kept me from collapsing onto the floor. The sound of Lily's cries tore through the room, high-pitched and desperate, echoing inside my skull like a siren. "Wait. No. Not me. She has my baby," I screamed, thrashing against the cuffs, pointing at Emily, who was already halfway out the back door. But the officer holding me barked, "Stay still, ma'am. You're under arrest for obstruction and suspicion of involvement in the murder of Thomas Reed." My world went black. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. The room spun, but through the haze I saw Emily, my sister, my flesh and blood, running into the night with my daughter in her arms. "Lily!" I screamed until my throat tore. My body twisted, fighting the cuffs, fighting the officer's hold, but it was useless. All I could do was watch my baby disappear into the darkness. The other officer gave chase, shouting commands, his flashlight beams slicing through the backyard. I heard a struggle, the sound of shoes pounding against dirt, a crash of something metal falling. But then, silence. No footsteps. No crying. Nothing. My heart slammed against my ribs. Where is she? Where is she? The officer holding me shoved me down onto the couch, pressing a heavy hand on my shoulder. Stay down, ma'am. Stay down until we sort this out. I shook my head violently, tears streaming down my face. No, you don't understand. Emily set me up. She's framing me. You have to go after her. She has my baby. But my words bounced off him like stones against glass. They didn't care. In their eyes, I was guilty. Minutes felt like hours until finally, the other officer returned. His face was pale, his chest heaving. He held nothing. No sign of her, he said, his voice flat. She's gone. My entire body went numb. My arms shook, my lips trembled, but no sound came out.
Gone.
My baby gone. The officer crouched in front of me, his eyes searching mine. Sarah Miller, we're taking you into custody. You'll be formally charged in the morning. I shook my head in disbelief, my voice hoarse. You're charging me while she's out there with my baby. You're going to let her disappear? But they didn't answer. They lifted me to my feet, pushed me toward the door, and the click of their boots against my floorboards felt like nails sealing a coffin. My home, the place I decorated with balloons and streamers for my daughter's first birthday, was no longer mine. It was a crime scene. They shoved me into the back of the patrol car, the metal grate separating me from freedom. Through the glass, I saw the half-collapsed banner still hanging in the living room. Happy first birthday, Lily. My stomach twisted until I thought I would vomit. As the car pulled away, I pressed my forehead to the cold glass, whispering, "Hold on, baby. Mommy's coming for you. I don't care what it takes. I'll burn the whole world down if I have to." At the station, they fingerprinted me, took my mugshot, and locked me in a holding cell. The walls were gray, the air smelled like bleach and sweat, and the bench was cold against my back. I closed my eyes, replaying everything in my head. Emily's text to Dad. The murder. The mysterious message sent from my phone. The footage of my car. Emily bursting into my house, covered in blood, screaming my name. And now my baby stolen. This wasn't random. This was planned. Emily had framed me. And she had Lily. I sat there in silence, rage building in my chest like fire. The more I thought about it, the clearer it became. This wasn't just about Dad's crime. This was about money, secrets, and betrayal that ran deeper than I ever imagined. But there was one truth I clung to like a lifeline. I would not rot in this cell. I would not let my sister win. Just as I whispered that promise to myself, I heard voices outside my cell. The clack of heels on the concrete floor. Then, a familiar face appeared on the other side of the bars. My mother. Her eyes were swollen, her makeup smudged, her hands clutching her purse like a lifeline. She stepped closer, her voice shaking. "Sarah, what have you done?" The words sliced through me. I grabbed the bars, fury flooding my veins. "What I've done? Emily kidnapped my baby. She's the one you should be asking about, not me. Do you even care what she's done?" But my mother only shook her head slowly, her lips pressed into a thin line. "You don't understand, Sarah. This is bigger than you. Bigger than Lily. Your father, he didn't kill Thomas Reed." I froze, my breath caught in my chest. "What are you talking about?" I whispered. Her eyes darted to the guards, then back at me. She leaned in, her voice low, urgent. "Your father's being protected. The truth would destroy us all. And Emily." She stopped, her eyes glassy with fear. "Emily knows everything." I gripped the bars harder. "Then tell me, Mom. Tell me what's going on. Where's my baby?" She pressed her lips together, tears sliding down her cheeks. "You were never supposed to know." And then she turned to leave. "Don't you walk away from me," I screamed, slamming my fists against the bars. "Tell me where my daughter is." But she didn't. She walked away, her heels clicking against the floor, her shoulders trembling. And that's when the guard came, unlocking the cell. "You've got a visitor," he said. Confused, I stepped forward, my heart pounding. Another visitor? At this hour? And when I walked into the small room and saw who it was, my blood turned to ice. Because sitting on the other side of the glass, smiling like a devil in disguise, was my sister Emily. And she was holding Lily in her lap. There she was. My sister. My enemy. My daughter balanced on her lap like a trophy she had stolen. Emily's smile was too wide, too calm, the kind of smile that hides a storm. Lily cooed softly, reaching for the glass between us, her tiny hand pressing against it. My chest cracked open. I pressed my palm against the other side, aching to feel her warmth. "Relax, Sarah," Emily said smoothly, stroking Lily's hair like she was her own child. "She's safe with me. Safer than she'll ever be with you." My blood boiled. "Give me back my daughter, Emily. She's mine." Emily tilted her head, eyes gleaming. "Yours? You've never had anything that was yours. Everything you touched fell apart. Dad's respect, Mom's love, Michael's loyalty. You don't even know half of it." Her words stung, but I forced myself not to flinch. "What are you talking about?" She leaned closer, her voice dropping into a venomous whisper. "Do you really think Michael works late every night? Do you really think he's loyal to you? Sarah, he's mine. He's been mine for months." The air left my lungs in a rush. I gripped the edge of the metal table, so hard my knuckles whitened. My mind rebelled against the thought, but deep down, I remembered every late-night call, every tired excuse, every time Michael turned away when I reached for him. "You're lying," I hissed. Emily smirked. "Am I? Or is it just easier for you to believe a lie than face the truth?" Tears pricked my eyes, but I blinked them back. I wouldn't give her that satisfaction. "This isn't about Michael. This is about you framing me for Dad's mess." "What was in that text, Emily? What money? What deal?" For the first time, her smirk faltered. She shifted Lily on her lap, avoiding my gaze. "You don't need to know. All you need to understand is that Dad isn't going down for this. And neither am I. If someone has to take the fall, it's going to be you." The pieces clicked together in my head like a lock turning. The text, the surveillance footage, the fake message from my phone, all of it was Emily. She was pulling the strings, and I was the puppet dancing in her trap. "You set me up," I whispered. Rage coursed through my veins like fire. "You used me. And now you've stolen my baby to keep me quiet." Emily's eyes gleamed. "Smart girl. Took you long enough. But don't worry, Sarah. Lily will grow up just fine with me. She'll never even remember you." I slammed my fists against the glass, the sound echoing through the room like thunder. "If you touch her, if you even breathe wrong near her, I swear to God, Emily." The guard burst in, pulling me back. "That's enough." Emily stood, still holding Lily. She adjusted the baby's blanket, kissed her forehead, and smiled one last time through the glass. "Sweet dreams, sister. Oh, and don't worry about Michael. He'll be at my place tonight." Then she walked out, her heels clicking on the floor, my baby crying in her arms. I collapsed back into the chair, shaking with rage, my heart tearing apart inside me. My sister had stolen everything, my family, my husband, my daughter. But in that moment, as the guard dragged me back to my cell, a new fire sparked in my chest. I wasn't going to let Emily win. If I had to break out of that cell, if I had to expose every secret my family buried, if I had to fight until my last breath, I would get my daughter back. And as I whispered Lily's name into the darkness of my cell, I made a promise. By the time this was over, Emily would regret ever thinking she could take what was mine. The cell was dark, the air heavy with the stench of sweat and despair. But inside me, something sharp and cold had awakened. My sister thought she had beaten me. She thought she could take my baby, steal my husband, and bury me under a mountain of lies. But she underestimated one thing. I had nothing left to lose. And a woman with nothing left to lose is the most dangerous kind of enemy. 3 days passed before I saw daylight again. They charged me with obstruction, dangled murder over my head like a sword, but they didn't have enough to keep me. "Not yet." When I walked out of that police station, I wasn't free. I was a woman on borrowed time. But it was enough. Enough to make my move. I went straight to Michael's office. His car was in the lot, but his secretary looked nervous when she saw me. He's not here, Sarah, she stammered. I knew that was a lie. I drove to Emily's house. My stomach twisted when I saw his car parked out front. Rage burned through me like fire as I stepped onto the porch. Through the window, I saw him, my husband, holding Lily in his arms. Emily sat beside him, her hand on his knee, her smile smug and poisonous. The betrayal was complete. I didn't knock. I kicked the door open so hard it slammed against the wall. Michael jumped to his feet, Lily in his arms. Emily stood, her eyes wide with shock, but she quickly masked it with that same wicked smile. Sarah, she purred, I was wondering when you'd stop playing the victim and join us. I ignored her. My eyes locked on Michael. Give me my daughter. He shook his head, shame flickering in his eyes, but he didn't move. Sarah, listen. This isn't what you think. I cut him off, my voice raw. Don't you dare stand there and try to explain. You knew. You've been with her. And you let her steal our baby. Emily laughed, her voice sharp and cruel. He didn't let me. He chose me. Because unlike you, Sarah, I know how to keep a family together. I know how to give him what he wants. My hands shook, but not with fear. With fury. You think this is about him? You think I care about a man who betrays me? No, Emily. This is about Lily. And I swear to God, you will not raise my child. I stepped forward, but Michael raised his hand. Don't make this harder, Sarah. Maybe it's better this way. Those words snapped something inside me. Better this way? To rip my daughter from me? To betray me with my own sister? You've both made the biggest mistake of your lives, I whispered. Before either of them could react, flashing red lights filled the room. Police cars screeched to a stop outside. Officers poured through the doorway, guns drawn, shouting commands. Emily's smile vanished. Because while I had been locked in that cell, I wasn't wasting time. I had told the detectives everything about the text message, the money, the threats. I gave them proof. Bank statements I had saved years ago. Emails linking Emily to Thomas Reed. Evidence she thought I was too weak to keep. The officers swarmed the room. Michael froze, still holding Lily, as they grabbed Emily by the arms and shoved her to the ground. She screamed, her hair falling into her face, her voice shrill and furious. This isn't over, Sarah. You think you've won, but you don't know half of it. Her words echoed as they dragged her away in handcuffs. I rushed forward, reaching for Lily. Michael hesitated, then handed her to me, his eyes full of guilt. I held my baby tight against my chest, breathing in her warmth, her innocence, her heartbeat. Tears poured down my face, but this time they weren't from despair. They were from victory. The officers turned to Michael. You're coming with us too. Conspiracy to obstruct justice. We'll see what else comes up. His eyes widened, panic setting in. Sarah, please.
Help me.
Tell them I didn't. I looked at him one last time. The man I once loved, the father of my child. But all I saw was weakness. Betrayal. You made your choice, I said coldly. Now live with it. They dragged him out behind Emily, his pleas fading into the night. And just like that, I was alone. Alone with Lily in my arms, standing in the ruins of everything I had ever known. But I wasn't broken. As I looked down at her tiny face, so pure and trusting, I whispered, We're free now, baby. Free from them. Free from their lies. And I promise you, I'll never let anyone take you from me again. Outside, the dawn broke, painting the sky in gold and fire. A new day. A new beginning. And though my family had destroyed me, though they had betrayed me in ways I could never forget, I had won. Because in the end, revenge wasn't about destroying them. It was about taking back what was mine. And I had. Forever.